What about your job would shock the everyday customer if they knew about it? Serious. Everything chicken at Chick-fil-A is not pre-packaged and in fact hand filleted and breaded in the store. Lots of crazy in this thread thought I would throw in a positive. I manage a self-serve frozen yogurt shop. The number of times I've caught kids, and sometimes adults, sticking their nasty ass fingers in the toppings and or licking the spoons and tongs is downright ridiculous. It's not that they're not immediately cleaned out and sanitized, they are, but I'm one person working a pretty big store with a lot of other things going on. The number of times I do catch them makes me afraid of how many times I didn't. TL, doctor, don't eat the toppings. I work at a hole-in-the-wall restaurant in a bad part of town in Louisiana. All of our seafood is fresh, locally caught. All of our vegetables/fruits were either grown at the owner's house or bought from a local. Nothing we use is ever frozen. It's all crazy fresh and the owner is very serious about it. He gives away day-old produce to the staff. He's also very serious about never telling anyone how fresh it is. Freshest food in the area and nobody knows it. I work in an all-natural health food to-go place. A lot of our ingredients come from Cisco. Free range, grass-fed, locally sourced. Nope. And nope. Edit. I'm aware that Cisco offers high quality products. I used to work for a more reputable company that use them. I apologize for failing to acknowledge that. However, in this case, the high quality, local ingredients are not what we are sourcing. I researched our current order boards for a piece of internal communication I sent out recently. What I learned was pretty disheartening. I work in a potato plant and there are several things that would piss people off. We send out product that we know is bad only to get it back and replace the top 2 layers on a pallet with fresh product. We get product returned, it is then sorted and repackaged, then sent right back. Mysterious fine black dust comes from the vents and accumulates in the storage area. I can't think of any more right now, but it's pretty gross. I work at a grocery store. We really don't care how your day is going, nor if you found everything alright. Put your shit on the belt, pay for it, and leave. Edit. Yes, I know this isn't shocking. And I only mean this for the 30% of shoppers who are rude and bitchy. I do strike up conversations with people. I do enjoy talking to people. I'm not a bad person. I just hate my shitty job and wish people wouldn't expect me to always put in 120%. Is that too much to ask? I used to work in social media and most people don't seem to understand that the CEO of a major corporation you are tweeting at is not reading your tweets or Facebook posts. It's actually a 20-something with basically no real power other than generic form responses that we grab off of a book created by corporate. Oh, you don't like the dress code policy turns to page 27 paragraph 2 for response. Copies and pastes. We have the ability to forward your posts to someone higher up to see if they can give you your money back, but we won't if you are a jackass to us or post something incredibly dumb. Once, I had a customer repeatedly Facebook us in increasingly threatening tones because there was a price increase of $0.01, which wasn't even our fault, but because of a tax increase in the state. Also, you should know that we are making fun of you. So much fun of you. I'm an escort, and more guys get me off while working than the men in my private life do. And honestly, I'm treated so much fucking better by my clients than by most other men I meet. Seriously, if they weren't more than double my age, I'd almost think about dating some of them. Air traffic controller at a very busy airport in a very large city. If you would amazed/terrified if you knew how close airplanes come in and around busy airports. Here is your example. You are in plane on a 5-mile final. 5 miles from edge of the start of the runway coming straight in. Plane B that is in front of you just landed. As plane B is rolling out, slowing down, plane C lines up at the edge of the runway waiting for plane B to exit the runway. Your plane, plane A, is now 2 to 3 miles from the edge of the runway with plane C sitting on the same runway filled with over 100 people. Plane B exits the runway, and plane C barrels down the runway. Plane C rotates and gets airborne right as your plane crosses the edge of the runway. Rinse, repeat over and over. It's like a well-oiled machine. I'm raging alcoholic, come off as homeless sometimes, and am really into kinky dirty sex. This is the majority of me and my coworkers are the life of an ESL teacher. Edit. For those asking, I'm currently in Vietnam. I also taught in Poland, Ukraine, and China. Fuck China. Also in my 8 years teaching I've only once missed work due to drinking. There was a misunderstanding at a bar, and I was maced. A few years back I worked for Mickelson as part of the H1N1 vaccine project. As you'll recall, there was much made of the fact that there was a vaccine shortage. In reality, we had a warehouse full of it. We weren't getting anywhere near the amount of orders that the government had anticipated. Everything in the news was simply not true. Worked at Jim Borton's in Canada. Customer shat on the floor next to the toilet. Had to be intentional. It wasn't even close to the toilet bowl. I was charged with cleaning it. So I mopped for like 20 minutes. Ugh. So runny. So I asked my manager what I should do with the mop, cause it was mostly sh*t by now. She told me to put it in the back and she would take care of it. I go on my break. I come back from my break to see the manager mopping the kitchen with the same exact mop. No change in mop head. No change in mop bucket. This is where all baking is done. This is where all food prep is done. And this is where all employees pass through to do everything. Now with a healthy coat of someone's diarrhea. I schedule for a group of surgeons. One of which is a complete hack, uses outdated methods of treatment and most of the time has little to no idea of what they're doing in the or, so they have to consult the other surgeons in our group. But they have great bedside manner. A lot, if not all, of their patients mistake that for being a great surgeon. I used to work for a sunglass hut. For starters, all of our sunglasses are made by the same parent company, so the only difference between a pair of $50 Arnett's and $300 Prada lenses is the name. Furthermore, our return policy is 90 days, no questions asked. However, you can exchange a pair for up to a year. A return/exchanged pair is not checked, refurbished, or anything. We just slap a new price tag on it and sell it as new. Edit. Story time. One of the reasons I left was that in addition to the marketing, the company has some rather horrible practices. The turnaround rate of employees is obscene. I worked at one location for a year, and by the time I left the company, I was the oldest employee at my store. Also, my first manager was a bitch. She stole my commissions for my first month, saying that trainees don't get credit for sales. This was the same woman who sold polarized lenses to a blind woman. I'm not even joking. You needed a little sociopath in you just to stay sane at this job. Using a throwaway, I've posted this before on my other account, but deleted my comments. I worked for a large clothing retailer that took stuff off of Etsy, copied it, and resold it to the masses. I can promise you that almost every single clothing company does this, so Etsy sellers, beware. If you think you see something similar to your product in a retail store, someone probably bought your product from you and knocked it off in a factory. Libraries will throw out books. Yep, that's right. Books go in the trash. Oh, they might get recycled, but that costs money. Money a lot of libraries don't have, so often the books get tossed in a dumpster. Edit. To be clear, these aren't books that anyone really wants. They've been unused for sometimes years. They may be damaged. They may be out of date, e.g. old medical books. If there is a book that is getting used and is of value to library users or even for historical reasons, every effort is made to see that it is kept. I'm talking about books that are unwanted. I'm a florist. It's not shocking, but it is ridiculous how expensive cut flowers are, especially considering how quickly they'll die. Oh, and getting flowers for a wedding? Mention wedding and the price goes up exponentially as opposed to just an event. So yeah, don't say it is for a wedding, especially if you are on a strict budget and have a small order. Just order a few arrangements and you'll be set. For the bouquet, say you want a wrapped arrangement, but wrapped round instead of flat. Web developer. Here, the two main things I can think of are the price to build a good, custom website. I've heard people balk at prices that I considered to be low. Yes, you can build a website for little to no money, but they are often not very good compared to a custom built site. Credit card security. While big sites like Amazon are probably pretty trustworthy, many sites are much less careful. Just because a site has an SSL, the padlock, doesn't mean it handles your information securely. I worked on a site one time where the guy who built it was storing full credit card information in clear text in a database. In fact, everything was being stored in clear text in the same database. Email addresses, passwords, CC info, billing address, all of it. I'm sure his users had no idea. Just because it's illegal doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Also, sites that ask for the CVV/CSC/CVD/ETC number may not even use it. We only have to match a couple of pieces of information, and card number and billing address are the ones I've seen used most often. One company I worked for didn't even bother submitting the CVV number to the processing company. When I worked in retail, I would say that the everyday customer would be shocked to learn that I hated them by default. Not because they are making me work. No, that's called having a job. But because it is so common these days for people to treat retail workers like shit. For some reason, it seems like it has actually become socially acceptable to yell at people working in the service industry just to get your way, even when you are clearly in the wrong. Just take a trip to /r/Talus from retail for a taste. I worked as a horse trainer at medieval times, and the amount of abuse to the animals and staff, I'm talking about the show staff, no idea about the wenches and such, is ridiculous. Many of our Andalusian stallions had gigantic carcinomas under their tails that went untreated. Horses would get ridden in 3 shows in a row with no break in the middle of summer. I frequently saw animals bloodied from spurs, whips, and bits being yanked in their mouths. The game's horses don't even have proper stalls and just have a standing area. Think cows when they are lined up to milk, and I rarely, if ever, saw one lie down. I work at a Walmart Tailu Band Express auto shop, and the amount of helping out a customer is beyond known. I know it sounds crazy, because people believe Walmart is a crap hole, but honest people work there. Many of my co-workers try to help customers save money by telling them they only need 2 tires instead of 4 or a less expensive oil change, because their car doesn't need inspection points if they don't have certain parts, i.e. transfer case or rear differential. Working in the back, a lot of customers don't see what goes on and only see the price. We also have to have a greater knowledge beyond what we can do to really help customers with their cars. We don't do major services like brakes, but we still have knowledge of it. We even sometimes recommend local family-owned auto shops if we can't do it. I used to work as a cashier/delivery driver at a sushi restaurant, and a lot of people didn't realize that the base of most of our rolls is a California roll. I remember this one time a guy came in with his girlfriend and they ordered a volcano roll, which was a California roll, cut to form triangle, and topped with spicy mayo and broiled fish. I brought it out to them, and as I was walking away I heard him call me back. Apparently he didn't realize that it came with the sauce on top, because we put it in a container for delivery/pickup. He asked if he could get another one without the sauce, because they both didn't like it. A California roll was $3.75 and our volcano roll was $7.25, so he was basically paying $3.50 more for it to be a certain shape. I worked and was trained for a very widespread retail clothing franchise that buys and resells name brand clothing. A few things. Rule #1, you're going to be ripped off. If you bring in a brand new shirt from American Eagle, you're not going to get anything near retail value, and the person taking in your items will probably mark it as last season, so you get paid even less. Rule #2, that shit you donate is probably going to be resold for complete profit or taken home by whichever employee spots it first. Rule #3, just have a fucking yard sale at your rich grandmother's house. You'll get way more than if you take it to a consignment store. I work on retail, your typical cell phone case/Bluetooth shop. Probably the prices. We'll charge $35 for a case they can get on Amazon for $3, and that we pay about $1 for. My coworkers will also charge as much as they can get out if you for each item, then give you a ton of things free, so when you see the item in a different store you don't think you get ripped off because you got free things. Looks like I'm a little late on this thread, but oh well. I've been a consumer product manager for 15 plus years, developing and importing good from Asia. Everything from coffee makers to BBQ grills. I've been to 100 factories throughout Asia, mostly China, overseeing production and shipment from start to finish. Bottom line, I don't care what kind of job you have here in the US, you do not want to work in a Chinese factory. Ever. I use a sledgehammer on your car when you bring it in for repair. And I mean like, all the time. It's received prime real estate on the top of my toolbox as I use it as much as any other tool. The average car owner would be in fact shocked at just how often auto techs, in the Rust Belt at least, use a hammer on their car, all the time. Shit won't come off, unless you really pound on it. And when the hammer doesn't work, or who am I kidding? The hammer always works. Eventually. It's amazing how much information bank tellers have access to, which requires no experience, and usually start at $10 to $15/HR. Very easy to get a teller position. Within a couple weeks of training you'll have access to everything about the bank's customers, i.e. name, SS, address, phone hash, account hashes, account history, etc. I work back office now, but it always scared me how much information they trust with new people. I worked as a telemarketer a few months ago. Terrible job, glad I quit. Anyways, the amount of information I had about the product I was selling was shockingly low. First I was selling plates, and I had no idea where we got the customer's information from. When I asked my boss, he said he had no idea, but told me to lie. So when asked by a pissed customer, I had to say I got it from an on-excising marketing poll. After a few weeks I got to sell free memberships to a savings club. That was basically a way of getting telephone numbers to the insurance department. I had no idea how it worked, except that we would call them with new information. At last I got to sell electricity, the thing I was promised to sell right off the bat, and learn to give a sales pitch, and answer a few frequently asked questions. Other than that I had no idea what I was talking about. I talked on and on about average use, but had no idea how much that was, etc. So the job was basically winging it all the way, and hoping the customers never asked the right questions. Lying to pissed customers at minimal wage and horrible commissions is something that makes you feel like shit, and is in no way worth the money.